Yo, what's up, everybody? It's your boy, Don R, and I'll see you later. JJ Stewart. I'm giving you a reaction, a recap, watch along. This YouTuber who does comic books. His name is Panther God Comics. And I'm also doing a recap of... I'm doing this because there's a recap of... I'm doing Stargirl season 3... No. Stargirl season 2, episode 3, Summer School. So in this episode... This is going to be long. In this episode, we find out that Mike knows Jakeem, that's this comic book thing that we're about to watch now, so y'all can know who Jakeem Thunder is. Because Jakeem and Thunderbolt first were split, and then they fused together to become Jakeem Thunder, because his original name was Jakeem Williams, which we see in the TV show that apparently Jakeem and Mike are on the same paper route. They both do paper routes. And we found out that Jakeem gets the pen because Mike wished that the pen can find somebody else that's worthy. Because Mike wanted to be part of the JSA. We also find out Shade knows the whole Super Squad or Star Squad. He knows Pat. Pat knows that's Shade. Beth finds Shade looking for artifacts, but apparently what Shade was looking for, is Eclipso, but he don't know that Dr. Poison, I think is his name, daughter has Eclipso. She found Eclipso, and Eclipso was going to try to kill all of them apparently. I was excited when they said Jakeem. I'm like, Jakeem? So we get Jakeem Thunderbolt. And so apparently Mike and Thunderbolt are both feeling lonely. And that's the reason why, I guess, the last person that had Thunderbolt, he told him to go find someone. And we found out Bab told Rick about her divorce between her parents, because Rick asked about it. Yolanda is still having her nightmares about killing Brainwave, and she don't want to do the same things as Shade. She wants to bring him in. And that's pretty much it. We didn't get to see no Green Lantern. We didn't get to see just this episode or what's her name? I forget. Dr. Poison's daughter's name. I think it's Jade, I believe. But yeah, let's go ahead and get this going so we can watch it. I might have to do 2 parts of it. Maybe. So let's do it. I'm gonna try not to talk as much, or actually talk while watching it, or looking at the camera.
Hit the notification bell.
Seventh son of a seventh
this
son.
one, and is my favorite, the Red Lantern Corps. You know, since I'm the RLC leader, from a different comic book reader. But let's get it.
Born at 7 a.m. on the 7th day of the 7th month, could inherit a great power, such as young Johnny Thunder did back in 1917, after a bad Legion ritual, and receiving the magical Zodiac belt, being the second person, after the wicked Saradin did centuries ago for 73 years, controlling the extremely powerful genie from the 5th dimension, is the Thunderbolt, for an hour by saying the magic words, "Say you." Johnny would later join the Justice Society of America, having an adopted daughter named Peachy Pet, while also being in charge of the group's souvenirs. Before and after many wonky adventure, Johnny, now an old geezer, suffering from Alzheimer's, managed to store Thunderbolt in a fountain pen, and unwittingly give it to the OG Flash, Jay Garrick, who later accidentally lost it while signing autographs, which ended up in the hands of Jakeem Williams, a self-reliant badass teenager that's more mature than expected for his age. And when Billy Mack, also known as Triumph, a defecto of the Justice League, let loose the evil powerful genie LKZ from the fifth dimension to wreak havoc on all creation, manipulating reality and putting Earth's mightiest heroes in a dire situation, and also in need of the 15-year-old who was now going by the name Jakeem Thunder, to summon his Thunderbolt genie. And after the Huntress saved JJ and secured his safety, he finally built up the courage to summon Thunderbolt to take on the evil genie, which was the start of a colossal battle of epic proportions, with JJ at the wheels to command, while Wonder Woman tipped him on the words to activate a battle response, as Thunderbolt needed JJ to instruct him how he wanted him to fight. Unlike a typical genie that only grants 3 wishes, his was more like a Pokemon, so the evil genie LKZ tried to take out JJ, before the Flash Barry Allen came with the save. Right after, JJ encountered the imp, Quisp, also from the fifth dimension, who wanted to manipulate JJ into doing his bidding, only for him to call it quits, not wanting the burden to control humanity's fate. So Quisp decided to kill Wildcat, to show him he will destroy the world regardless. So JJ hit him with a right punch Hailmaker, when suddenly, Thunderbolt, who was now YLZKZ, after fusing and taking over LKZ's essence, all thanks to Shazam's idea, brought in the fifth dimensional authorities to apprehend Quisp for his crimes on our 3-dimensional plane. Meanwhile, Superman, along with John Henry Irons and the Spectre, all took down Triumph one by one, as the day was finally saved from the forces of evil, while Wildcat managed to survive, by unbeknownst to the others, having the special ability of 9 lives. And next was to be JJ's Meteor, which he undoubtedly passed over. Nevertheless, another world-ending event would occur, when the labyrinth contained in a mystic realm broke loose and entered Earth's dimension, devouring every living being it encountered. So the Flash Jay Garrick, who recently got a power boost, retrieved JJ for help, so he could summon his Thunderbolt, since the Spectre was nowhere to be found. However, JJ still hadn't gotten the hang of controlling the powerful genie, and didn't know how to command it to do different attacks, as it didn't have any specific ones, only the imagination and strategic thinking of JJ. So Mr. Terrific Michael Holt stepped in to help the little brother, motivating and inspiring him to save the world, thus saving himself. So JJ tightened up and got to the ass whipping, commanding his genie to bug zap every last giant murderous insect in sight, until the godlike spirit of vengeance Spectre showed up, to finish the fight by taking down the source itself, which the creature only known as the King of Tears, surprisingly ended up devouring him. However, one would be foolish to count the Spectre out, as he began to regenerate himself like some freakish titan, and next revealed, since the King of Tears had no conscience, he could do nothing to vanquish the beast, so he left to attend to other matters. Moreover, Mr. Terrific came up with a plan, involving Jay Garrick going beyond light speed, circling the world with the help of Black Adam, to reproduce the effects of a particle accelerator, and punch a hole straight through the fabric of space and time, so he could take the King of Tears into the Speed Force, to be converted into pure energy, while our other heroes made their way into the labyrinth, with JJ using the Thunderbolt as a force shield to clear a path, allowing Dr. Midnight to confront Johnny Sorrow, who is controlling the beast, and finally stop him from doing any more damage, as once again the day was saved by our heroes, which would inevitably bring in the dawn of a new threat, to rise and challenge justice. But until then, Mr. Terrific took JJ and Stargirl, Courtney Whitmore, on a humanitarian mission to Harlem Youth Center, which JJ wasn't feeling the social outing, while after, the little runt decided to insult Mr. Terrific, by regretting going along with him, and also claiming Mr. Terrific was catering to him because he was black. so Stargirl gave JJ an attitude adjustment for his lack of respect for the Justice Society and Mr. Terrific. Later on the night of Halloween, JJ would officially be a part-time member of the JSA, even though he had beef with Stargirl, so he had to figure out how to get along with her, which he wasn't planning on doing anytime soon. Next, JJ was given the job of handing out candy to the trick-or-treaters to build his social skills, when suddenly, the pumpkin on their porch was smashed, and then shockingly right after it, the head of the Statue of Liberty, with a Joker smile painted on it, crashed right in front of them on the street, as the culprit revealed himself to be none other than Solomon Grundy, who next grabbed JJ, and then confiscated his pen, until Stargirl came with the assist, rescuing JJ, who was far from grateful and naive when he went to take on Grundy head-on, only for Stargirl to save him again, when Grundy threw a subway train at them. Nevertheless, they went to get back JJ's genie friend, which wasn't an easy mission, with JJ still being an asshole along the way, while Stargirl revealed she knew JJ was 15 years old, and not 12 like he claimed, possibly because he suffered from short man syndrome, when suddenly again, Grundy tried to attack JJ, who really didn't like being called JJ. Luckily Stargirl was on point, until her attacks wasn't enough to take him down, so Jakeem snatched one of his eyeballs out, causing the pen to fall out his hand, but Grundy still managed to slap fire from Jakeem, before he could retrieve his pen, that now fell in a stormwater drainage. Meanwhile, Grundy was attempting to squeeze and pop Stargirl's head like a cherry, when somehow, Jakeem managed to telekinetically summon the pen to his hand, and let out Big Bad himself, Thunderbolt, who he made go inside Grundy's body, to bake him within, turning him into a microwave, and frying the massive brute to a crisp, as the two made their escape, and seemed to stand on mutual grounds, when Thunderbolt burst out Grundy's corpse ready for action. Soon after, Jakeem tasked Thunderbolt with the job to return the head of the Statue of Liberty, and next apologized to Stargirl while wanting to talk to Johnny, wishing he was healed from his Alzheimer's, when Stargirl asked what the second J in his initials stood for, which he revealed for Johnny, who elsewhere, miraculously was healed from his disease, unbeknownst to everybody including Jakeem himself, that it was all because of the wish he made. Thereafter, Jakeem wanted Stargirl to take him to the iconic city of Metropolis, to go on a grand tour of Superman's stomping ground, while after, attended the weekly JSA briefing, while having Chinese food for lunch for the third time this week. So Jakeem decided to summon Thunderbolt, to conjure some dessert of chocolate cake, when surprisingly, Johnny Thunder showed up, to everyone's delight to see the JSA veteran, including Thunderbolt, who was excited to see his old master, while Jakeem stood in awe as he thought Johnny was out the game. However, for Jakeem, Johnny wanted to speak to him in private, which also included without Thunderbolt being present, so with the magic words of "so cool," Thunderbolt was put back in his pen, while Johnny discussed that the reason he's there is because he came back for Thunderbolt, explaining he never meant to give his genie away, and that he belonged on the JSA roster instead of him, crushing Jakeem's spirit by claiming he's no hero, and the last person he would have passed the mantle to. So saddened and shocked, Jakeem handed over the pen, only to make one of the biggest mistakes of his life, as Johnny Thunder wasn't who he claimed, and revealed himself to be the body snatcher, Ultra Humanite. Later 6 months would pass, since the Ultra Humanite used Thunderbolt to transform Earth into his own utopia called Ultra World, with rebels like Jakeem part of the resistance, encountering the original Sandman Wesley Dodds, of the JSA, who was temporarily partnered with the villain Icicle, as he next took them underground to safety, explaining the whole ordeal on how everything came to be, while they were frozen in time in Ultra Humanite stasis tubes, as Jakeem continued to take them miles deep underground, passing countless access points to finally reach the base camp, where the new JSA members were harbored, which included Shazam, the Crimson Avenger Jill Carlisle, Power Girl Kara Zor-El, and our man, Richard Tyler, to free the rest of Earth's superheroes from the mind control of the Ultra Humanite. As they infiltrated Emerald City, our man seeing a vision of Jakeem's demise an hour into the future, when they were suddenly confronted by Ultra Humanite's meta-human army, the Thunder Front, as all hell broke loose, while Jakeem was tasked with destroying the mind control caps on each of the downed opponents, when our man's flash-forward vision of Jakeem's death at the hands of the Ray and Firestorm, began to play out, so he deflected the attacks, and countered them with a Huckabucka KO, saving Jakeem's life from the duo, while next up was the Nuklon, Atom Smasher, as Jakeem made his way up the top of the mountain of a beast, before things began to get haywire, and he was attacked from all fronts, as the fluids in the transfer tubes collapse, which inadvertently became a current, for Jakeem to deliver an electronic charge, destroying all the brain caps, and freeing our heroes from their mind control. Soon after, Ultra Humanite and his legion of white gorillas showed up, who came charging like raging hungry zombies, while Billy got a jump start from Black Adam to transform into his alter ego, when right after it, Jakeem heard Johnny's cries through their shared link through Thunderbolt, before the plan was to short out the genie within, in order to defeat Ultra Humanite, which didn't set too well with Jakeem, who didn't want any harm caused to his best friend, while Mr. Terrific's T-Sphere's projection kept the Ultra Humanite distracted, giving the Green Lantern Alan Scott the opportunity to attack, along with Black Lightning Jefferson Pierce, a combination of the Speedsters, and a punch from Black Adam, Superman, Power Girl and Steel, to cause the Thunderbolt within Ultra Humanite to gain leverage, and keep the Ultra Humanite in place, to help our heroes go forward with their plan, as Jakeem cried, feeling Johnny or Thunderbolt might not survive. However, Shazam had no choice but to go through with the plan, and hit the Ultra Humanite with the final blow, tossing and grounding a lightning rod in his chest, killing the Ultra Humanite and Johnny at the same time, as Thunderbolt was finally set free, while the Ultra Humanite's brain managed to escape, and as Johnny laid there dying, he formally passed the mantle to Jakeem, before he took his last breath. Nevertheless, Jakeem wasn't going to accept his passing, and demanded Thunderbolt to resurrect him, which was beyond his power to do. Luckily, however, Thunderbolt decided to go with a never-before-done method that would leave Johnny's body behind, as his soul would merge with his essence, to now become Johnny Thunderbolt, as he was ecstatic to have a second crack at life, with his new mission first being to teach Jakeem the laws of his genie, and how to be specific in what he wishes for, or his wish would be taken literally, and possibly misinterpreted, so Jakeem wished to undo every single wish the Ultra Humanite made, which Johnny Thunderbolt accomplished with ease, while later, the JSA buried the body of the late veteran, as everyone attended, included Johnny's older brothers, who couldn't see him right in front of them, since he intentionally made himself invisible, while Johnny's body was finally laid to rest. Now back home, since everyone was taking a break for Father's Day, Jakeem had to deal with his Aunt LaShawn, who was nagging him to do chores around the house, while he was hooking up his JSA communicator, when he ended up shorting out the power. Now frustrated that he had to go change the fuse he blew, his flashlight died to add icing on the cake, so he just summoned Johnny Thunderbolt instead, as he was stressed knowing his mom died of cancer after he was born, while he never knew his father. So Johnny Thunderbolt decided to take Jakeem to meet him at the university in Ann Arbor, Michigan, where his biological father Phil attended college for electrical engineering. So they engaged in friendly conversation, while a nervous Jakeem didn't know how to address his concern, since his father had no idea of his birth, when shockingly, his wife Jennifer and their son showed up, which made the situation more awkward. Afterwards, Jakeem and Phil along with his family parted ways, but not before he gave Jakeem advice, and a textbook on how to fix his electrical problem, before they waved goodbye to one another, leaving Jakeem to reveal the revelation to his father some other time, since he didn't want to possibly mess up a happy home, so he next had Johnny Thunderbolt return him to Keystone City, where he fixed the lighting issue by resetting the breaker, and next made his genie take him to the JSA headquarters, where he spoke with Richard, feeling he needed a male role model at that moment, to fill in the gap that was missing during Father's Day. So Richard decided to hang out with Jakeem, and take him out to the movies. As time progressed, Jakeem and Johnny Thunderbolt, who were part of the JSA Reserve, would be summoned to New York to aid in combat against another body snatcher, who was immortal and a sorcerer, known as one of the most evil beings the universe has ever known, Mordru, the Dark Lord, who wanted to unleash his plague of darkness, as he cut Jakeem's vocal cord with a spell, so he couldn't command his genie, officially taking Jakeem out the game, as Mordru continued his brutal assault on the JSA members. Afterwards, Jay Garrick rushed both Mr. Terrific and Jakeem across country to Dr. Midnight's lab, who he next brought in to attend to the down heroes, while Mordru aligned with Obsidian, master of the Shadow Force, and Eclipso, the Wrath of God, wiped the floor with the JSA, so they could force the moon from its orbit to create a permanent total eclipse, as they continued to wage war against the JSA and those who opposed them, while Dr. Midnight was busy doing open throat surgery to repair Jakeem's vocal cord, when an unconscious Mr. Terrific was still able to communicate, using his T-spheres to animate himself, while suggesting Dr. Midnight perform a temporary electrode implant in Jakeem Brain's motor cortex, just so he could command his genie to aid in the chaos, as the world began to crumble by the effects of the total eclipse. So Johnny, now recovered from the procedure, managed to build up the strength to summon his best friend and muscle, Johnny Goddamn Thunderbolt, and next, made his way back to the battleground for round 2, and now protected with a powerful force shield, he commanded his genie to lay the smackdown on Mordru, giving him a severe beating that he couldn't defend against, ending with the final words of, "So cool," being the last thing Mordru heard from Jakeem, before being transported and trapped within Jakeem's pen, as Mordru released Alan Scott's Starheart, which was the source of his Green Lantern powers. So Jay Garrick returned it to him so he could take on his son Obsidian, and inevitably took him out of his form, saving his children, when suddenly, Mordru broke free from his imprisonment, and declared his goal to wipe the world clean and make anew, only for Dr. Fate to cancel all his hopes and dreams, which brought in the cavalry, as all the JSA members got their final licks in, before Dr. Fate, with the help of the Lords of Order, imprisoned Mordru into the Rock of Eternity, thus saving the day once again to allow Earth to flourish. Now back at the JSA headquarters fully recovered, Jakeem would have Johnny Thunderbolt give him a drip makeover, which was a bad idea since his fashion sense was outdated, so Jakeem made his genie revert him to his original appearance, while feeling guilty that his genie had to live in a pen, which Johnny Thunderbolt didn't mind, when suddenly they overheard Stargirl talking to Shazam about going to the movies, which made Jakeem feel some type of way. Later, the JSA leader Mr. Terrific invited the Justice League over for Thanksgiving, as Jakeem was introduced to the speedster Bart Allen, with both of them having potty mouths, but Jakeem's a lot more explicit, making them a compatible pair of friends. And when supper was ready, the angry Stargirl found out the adults put her at the kiddie table, even though she was 16. Nevertheless, she was welcomed with open arms by Bart and Jakeem. A time after, Jakeem's grades would start falling off, so his aunt gave him a tongue lashing for trying to have Johnny Thunderbolt forge A's on his report card, and ban him from the JSA until he got his grades up. However, Jakeem decided to summon Johnny Thunderbolt to take him to St. Rock, the hometown of Hawkman and Hawkgirl, when shockingly, he was visited by the time traveler, Ripley Hunter, to help stop the time-traveling Nazi leader, Dagon, and his fascist of genetically engineered soldiers from the year 2666, called the Red Morgue, from erasing the heroes from history by killing President Harry Truman, and blaming them for it. However, unfortunately for Jakeem, his pen couldn't function in the time period of 1951, since two of the same exact genies couldn't exist separately. Furthermore, each hero was now tasked to save the legacy of their predecessors, like Stargirl going after Starman, Michael Holt tracking down the original Mr. Terrific, Terry Sloan, and Jakeem finding Johnny Thunder himself, who he went on to try and convince on his current circumstances, which Johnny found ridiculous and believed it was toxification. And when Jakeem made matters worse, by accidentally making a couple of college jocks mad, and ready to beat the snot out of him, Johnny came to the rescue only to find out, even he couldn't summon his genie Thunderbolt, so they had no choice but to throw hands. Luckily Jakeem was trained by the world champion boxer Wildcat, and after the mollywop that was given, they headed back to the JSA headquarters, where they ran into the other members, who were already there waiting for them, to plan out their next move against their time-traveling threat. Soon after, They made their way to the White House to warn the president, so Jakeem and his army decided to cancel their plan, and instead engage in an all-out war in front of the presidential palace, scuffing and destroying the executive mansion's lawn, as our heroes opened a big can of whoop-ass, with Stargirl advising Jakeem and Johnny to summon Thunderbolt together, which worked, as he came out in a blaze of glory, doing what he does best and deliver beatdowns, as our heroes saved the past that would make the future, and next made their way back home to their respectable time period. A time after, the JSA would have a meeting over, reinstating the traitor Atom Smasher to the team after he redeemed himself, so when they made their decision, they headed to his room only to find him gone, making his way to the Middle East country of Kondak, along with Black Adam, where the Spectre without a host, was damning and destroying the country, until he was attacked by Black Adam himself, while Atom Smasher was busy rescuing the country's leader. Moreover, the JSA would arrive and help take down Spectre, with Jakeem summoning Johnny Thunderbolt to blind him, before he could command him to banish him to the fifth dimension, until he was attacked by citizens who believed the JSA were enemies. Afterwards, Johnny Thunderbolt followed his command, only for the Spectre to somehow cause Jakeem to also be sucked into the pen, which felt like thousands of years of agony, compressed into a single seemingly endless instant, multiplied by 10, while Jakeem constantly screaming "help me," and when it was all said and done, Jakeem became somehow pure evil, and later rule the fifth dimension, enslaving Johnny Thunder, who was now separated from Thunderbolt, while Thunderbolt himself with his son-in-law Shocko and Mr. Terrific, our man, Stargirl, with the unlikely ally of Saradin, came to help find and stop Jakeem, while later being confronted by Jakeem's Jinn Hounds, and took as captive to his dark palace, when a hidden Shocko tried to attack in order to save his also captive wife, Peachy Pet, only to foil our hero's plan, and next sentenced to death by Jakeem, who toyed with his victims, by commanding an unwilling Thunderbolt to do his dirty work, when Mr. Terrific managed to convince Thunderbolt to take control of his destiny, and be a hero and help them stop Jakeem, which didn't go the way he hoped, as Jakeem beat the heroism out of him. That's until Thunderbolt built up the courage to put his friendship with Jakeem aside, and stop holding back and start beating the sense out of him, which gave Saradin the opportunity to see the entity within Jakeem, that was the one controlling his actions, so Saradin performed a life-threatening exorcism, only for Thunderbolt to stop him from killing Jakeem. However, luckily, the evil imp, Quisp, was vanquished out of him, so a freed Peachy Pet was the first to put them hands on him, while a happy Thunderbolt healed Jakeem, now knowing he wasn't acting on his own accord. Now that Quisp was defeated, he tried to justify his actions by his imprisonment, only for Saradin to capture him in his capsule that held his own lifeblood, and next vowed to everyone that one day he'll control Thunderbolt again, before he vanished. Thereafter, Jakeem requested Thunderbolt take everyone home, where they encountered Mordru attacking Nabu, who was wearing Dr. Fate's suit, so Jakeem was the first to attack his nemesis, sticking the Thunderbolt pen in his throat. As Mordru lay there in pain, Jakeem made his genie send him to a location, never to be seen again. Later, during one eerie night, Jakeem, carrying cupcake treats for his aunt's birthday, encountered a couple of goons harassing him, so he called in Thunderbolt to crack some skulls, when right after it, they encountered a ghost claiming to be Jakeem's older brother, which Jakeem wasted no time in had Thunderbolt get them the hell out of there, while Mr. Terrific was next, and saw his dead wife Paula, and then Dr. Midnight seeing dead patients, and so on. Later, when the JSA were hanging out at their headquarters, they were visited by the paranormal entity, James Craddock the Gentleman Ghost, from the 19th century, with a stern warning of their demise, so Power Girl and Stargirl attacked him with no results from their assault, as he vanished, leaving the JSA members questioning their beliefs, except for Thunderbolt, who believed in ghosts. Next, Jakeem would go looking for answers about his unknown dead older brother, so upon Jakeem's unspecified request, Thunderbolt took him to see his family, as Jakeem was now in the presence of his dead mother, grandma, and older brother Jimmy, when things went left, so Jakeem had Thunderbolt contain them, as his mother went on to explain the gentleman ghost was behind it all, and that his brother had tragically died in a house fire, along with their grandmother, before the ghost began to fade away in obscurity, when later, Jakeem was tasked to find information on the gentleman ghost through old JSA case files with no luck, so Jakeem, not feeling the desk duty, made Thunderbolt transfer him to the land of the dead, only to find out the ghosts unknowingly walk amongst them, when suddenly the gentleman ghost hung Jakeem by a noose, attempting to lynch our young hero. However, Thunderbolt wasn't having that, and saved Jakeem from that white supremacist ghost, and when the dead started to attack Jakeem, he had Thunderbolt bring in deceased superheroes to counter the attacks, in a real Paranormal Activity collision, and after the great battle in the Beyond was over, Jakeem got intel from Ghost Batman on how to find the gentleman ghost, so later, JSA members went ghost hunting, making their way to London, England, to the gentleman ghost's death site, finally tracking him, and during a long and exhausting final fight, with our heroes doing everything in their powers to try and take him down. It was Mr. Terrific who discovered Wildcat was the only one that could hurt the gentleman ghost, since he was the one who had noble blood, being he was a collateral descendant of a 17th century duke turned colonial, which gave them the leverage they needed to finally defeat the tyrant ghost and his army. Thereafter, Jakeem would try to start listening more, and saying less, and after a fire broke out taking down several buildings in the Bronx, JSA members would make it to the scene, to help the fire department with rescue efforts, when a upset elderly woman approached Jakeem, and suggested he have Thunderbolt rebuild the collapsed apartments, until Alan Scott suddenly end the search and rescue, as their job was done. Later, Jakeem contemplated on what the elderly woman said, and felt she was right, as he should have had his genie fix the problem. However, Alan Scott felt it would make people feel incompetent to solve their own problems. The next day, Jakeem would head out to the disaster site, and came across the same elderly woman with the conspiracy that the landlord was behind the disaster. Sad and fed up with the situation, Jakeem summoned Thunderbolt to rebuild the apartments, which made him an international sensation, and the answer to everyone's problems, as people came out the woodworks looking to make a wish from Jakeem's genie, which interfered with his personal life. So Alan gave Jakeem an ultimatum to just say no, or either continue, which Jakeem chose, and gave people what they wanted and not what they needed, until he came across limitations of Thunderbolt's powers, and Thunderbolt himself needing a break to rest from it all. While on day 6, Stargirl reminded him he didn't have to continue doing what he was doing, only for Jakeem to not agree, and went out to please the masses, as even Thunderbolt started to become annoyed with the whole ordeal, and when the elderly woman showed up once again, this time with another wish from a tired Jakeem, that became the straw that broke the camel's back, as he got the hell up out of there, when suddenly, Alan showed up with Stargirl, and took him to Rio, Brazil for a life lesson about balance, cause and effect, responsibility, and hard choices. Thereafter, Jakeem would finally understand that being a hero doesn't mean you had to save everybody, but as long as you were able to help somebody, you made a difference. Jakeem would later go on to meet the Pierce family, and fall head over heels for the JSA's new recruit, Jennifer Pierce, Black Lightning's youngest daughter, known as the superhero, Lightning, as Jakeem couldn't keep his eyes off her, while took every opportunity he had to spark a conversation, even in her most vulnerable moment, when she had trouble controlling her powers. As time progressed, it would fall on Courtney's 17th birthday, as Jakeem reminisced with her about that fateful Halloween night, when they went up against Solomon Grundy, and thanked her for always having faith in him, as he gifted her with a framed photo that represented everything she learned and believed in during her time with the JSA that she passed on. Later, the Teen Titans would hold a ritual to free their teammate, Jin, the sister of Thunderbolt, who was trapped in her magic summoning ring by their older brother, Elias, known as the Devil, and the first genie, who is the most powerful and beautiful of all genies, while refusing to serve as a servant to grant wishes, so he attacked the Teen Titans, who now were trying to banish him using the Book of the Damned. However, Elias' goal was to retrieve all 10 powerful genie rings, so he could retrieve the Stone of Souls that descended from heaven itself, so he threatened to kill the Teen Titans if his sister didn't help him get it, which she gave her brother what he wanted, and brought in the big dog, Jakeem, along with his trusty ally that was also their brother, who was in possession of the Stone of Sorrows. However, Thunderbolt, who unfortunately after being summoned, froze in fear at the sight of his evil older brother, who then began to transform into his true form, before brutally attacking Thunderbolt while Jakeem attempted to intervene. However, it was too late, as he was now at the mercy of his brother, who took the Stone of Sorrows from him to be one step closer to Heaven's throne, but not before Jin saved her friends by closing them out the realm, and then was sucked back into her ring by Elias, leaving Jakeem left out of a genie and friend, while now amongst a new team of superheroes, to help him save Thunderbolt along with his sister, which Damian figured the only way to defeat the devil was to go straight to hell, which meant they had to be put in a state of near death, and after he tasked Jakeem to stay behind and protect and monitor their bodies, they would drink a liquid that would put them in a state of paralysis, before inevitably killing them, which Jakeem would prevent by giving them an antidote exactly at 30 minutes in, after he hooked them all to medical equipment to monitor their vitals. And when it was all said and done, the Teen Titans began to flatline at the 30-minute mark, so Jakeem commenced to performing CPR, doing everything in his power to revive the young heroes, when suddenly, his cries for Thunderbolt unleashed his synced power within Jakeem, which revived the Titans with his latent ability, while simultaneously Jin managed to free herself from the other realm, as the Teen Titans were brought back. Moreover, their next mission now was to finally defeat Elias, before he attacked Heaven's Gate, which proved to be too late. Nevertheless, after a long and fierce battle with Elias gaining the upper hand, it would be his sister who finally defeated him, while next depriving him from the stolen rings, and returning them to the other genies, who was under his command through the use of them. Thereafter, she would captured Elias and his, imprisoning him, and last but not least, freed Thunderbolt to reunite with his old friend Jakeem, and after the day was saved, Jin would part ways with her team, bidding them farewell before leaving with Jakeem and Thunderbolt.
Whew. Yeah, that's cool, bro. Alright, everybody, I want to thank y'all for sitting and doing this watch along with me with Jakeem Thunder. Can't wait for episode 4. Make sure you zap that like button for your boy. Zap that subscribe button for your boy. This is the RLC leader, and I'm out of here. Peace.